Despite the fact that that shouldn't work, it surprisingly blends very well. Buckle down. Hey guys, so this is my review for Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was a movie that I was kind of hesitant to see, mainly because there was already speculation about it wouldn't be that great. Guy Ritchie I kind of feared would be too much overly Sherlock Holmes in it. My dad watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. a lot, and he really liked the show, and he was seeing some speculation that it really wasn't very similar to the show. And after a while, I kind of thought about it and said, well, you know, Mission Impossible, this huge mega Tom Cruise film series, was completely different from the television show when they did the first film. And despite that, it's now this super awesome successful series. So I wondered, maybe this will be the same. And it was, actually. If anything, I actually liked this Man from U.N.C.L.E. film more than Rogue Nation. Now let me explain why. The thing that I had an issue with in Rogue Nation wasn't the stunts, it wasn't really the pace, it was the jokes. All the jokes were very cheesy to me, very kind of juvenile. They weren't very mature for the film it was. Like, this was supposed to be a really hard-hitting action film, but the jokes seemed like they were something out of a teenager film. Man from U.N.C.L.E., however, has two fantastic leads. The first being Henry Cavill, who gave a very pompous but very cunning and very gentlemanlike portrayal of Napoleon Solo. And number two was Armie Hammer, who, you know, he did good. He did very good. I'm on the ropes with Armie mainly because, if I'm correct, he's the two guys from Facebook movie, and then he was Lone Ranger. He's a very decent actor, and it's unfortunate that he's getting pushed into the limelight with these big films. He's not really being, you know, he should have more time as a secondary character, which he kind of is in this film, really. But they still try to push him out and be like, okay, he looks nice, but he has not a lot to his credit. He was the two twins from Facebook movie. You gotta give him a little bit more exposure before you put him in the limelight, Hollywood, especially with several major blockbusters. So, Man from U.N.C.L.E., how does it shape up? It's actually a very consistent action film, but the thing that it's also very consistent with is its humor. Its humor is very good, very funny, very tongue-in-cheek, really great because the humor between the two characters, the conflicting characters, one is this super very dedicated but slightly psychotic kind of Russian, and the other is this self-thinking, very pompous but very elegant sort of spy guy. And so the two kind of counteract each other, but in the way their chemistry actually at first, it really kind of, if you wonder if it's ever going to be there, but then it starts to meld. Sure, it's not like perfect. It doesn't blend as well as you would like, but that's because Armie is spending more time kind of building this relationship with the main female lead. Despite the fact that this girl has apparently been in East Berlin her whole life and doesn't have an accent, the Alicia girl from Ex Machina was actually really good. Despite the fact that she is a damsel in distress character, she does have some very good chemistry and some very funny and some very insightful scenes with Armie Hammer, and I actually enjoyed those scenes. At first I thought they were kind of placed on, and then the romantic build-up between the two was kind of a forced idea. And the funny thing is, their whole romantic kind of storyline doesn't really pander out in the end. It's not completed, which I didn't mind because, you know, you can build that on in later films if you want, but I actually kind of enjoyed that. It's kind of like what they did with Pacific Rim. It was just something that was different. So for the villains are interesting, but they really aren't given that much time to develop. That was something I would say that is kind of an unfortunate side effect, that the villains aren't really given that much time. But the thing that this film did perfectly was its setting. Everything from the costumes to the cars to the drinks, to the suits. You can see that Guy Ritchie spent a lot of time building this universe that's over 50 years old, rebuilding this whole era and bringing it onto the screen and making it look fantastic, but also at the same time using some old camera tricks, which I actually found was very interesting. There was one shot that was in Rome, and it was looking at this person who was looking down onto this area from very far off, and it was actually a straight up look, pan, zoom in from a very far distance. You remember seeing those in the old Connery and Roger Moore Bond films, and that's a camera shot that I haven't seen in a very long time because, to be honest, it kind of doesn't look that great. To see a shot like that in this film was pretty cool, just from a cinematography stage. Even with using that shot, The rest of this film is very stylish, very good. Its substance adds to its style, and the style builds on that. The style of this film is fantastic, from the editing to the intercuts. I actually thought that they did some really cool creative ideas with intercutting, and the music. Okay, yeah, the music was really good. Not only was the soundtrack choice great, but the score was done very well, really reminiscent of the time, and had some really good beat-up jazz. So in the end, what is my review for The Man from U.N.C.L.E? You know what? This film surprised me just like Kingsman did, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the humor was very good. Sure, the villains aren't really given that much time to be established, but Henry Cavill was great, Armie Hammer was great, the chemistry, while not super great, was still pretty good. The whole setting was fantastic. The movie was super classy, super stylish, and also had a really great substance to it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 7. I actually was very surprised with it. And the thing that's very interesting is while it didn't have that great of a box office open, my theater was full. Near on full. So that's pretty cool that it's still got this consistency, at least for Canadians up here. Anyway, guys, so this is my last review before I go to PAX. I actually have a bunch of poster art reviews I'm going to put up hopefully tomorrow before I go. But yeah, so Penny Arcade Expo, I would be there right now, but unfortunately I'm not, mainly because the dollar is killing us Canadians and it would cost me a buttload to go down there. The camera was also died, so I've got to definitely stop that, but I will be down there Sunday and Monday, so make sure to come down, and if you guys are already there, I'm jealous of all of you because I wish I was there right now. This is the first time in 8 years I have not been there on day one. So, you know what, have a good time, and hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I will see you when the camera turns back on. Buckle down.